Welcome to RED35, and today we are looking at something rather unusual. It's the 8mm f1.8 Fisheye Pro lens by Olympus. If you have been following our channel, then you know that I have previously done a review on the Olympus 60mm macro lens for portrait, and today we're looking at the 8mm f1.8 Fisheye Pro lens, which is usually marketed for nature, underwater and some other creative photography. Let's see what else we can do with this lens today. As we are now walking from Buckingham Palace to the famous Big Ben that's no longer there. Can you see Big Ben here? You know, this is the lovely phone booth that has the Big Ben backdrop, but look at what we have now. Nothing. So I have been on a quest to find the perfect vlogging lens on my EM1 Mark II. So I've been trying a few different setups, you know, over the last few months. Now, first of all, my very first vlogging lens was my very own 12mm f2 prime, which is brilliant. You know, first of all, it's a prime lens, so it's fast. The f2, which is actually quite good, and also look at the size. It's actually very small, and which means light. So as you know that when you're vlogging, holding the camera and everything that is going to attach to it, it can get a bit weighty. So the lighter the lens, the better in my case. But then after a while, I do find that the distance, you know, because the 12mm full frame is 24mm, and so I have to basically stretch on my arm a little bit further or use a longer block pod. But that's actually getting a little bit tiring after a while because of the weight after you extend your arm. So then I try to use a wider lens, which is also one of my favorites, ultra wide lens, which we're going to do the review on anyway later, which is this one, the 7-14 f2.8 Pro lens. This is a brilliant lens, and because it has the ability to zoom in and out, that's the first. But at the widest end, which is 7mm, which is 14 in full frame, this is cool because you know why? I don't even have to fully stretch my arm to actually get my whole, you know, kind of shoulder shot in my head and some of the backgrounds. So it's very, very good for vlogging, and the AF is really quick. It tracks myself really well, and if I really do want to zoom in to get a little bit tighter, I can zoom it in all the way to 14, which is 28 equivalent. So this is good, but is the downside. This thing is freaking heavy. You know, like despite the size, this thing actually weighs a ton. You know, it weighs more than my actual 25 1.2 Pro or any of the 17 or 45 1.2 Pros. You know, this is actually one heavy lens. And secondly, or thirdly, you know, like obviously, you know, when it's zooming into all the 7, this thing's actually bulging forward, and so it's quite prone to getting wet if I'm shooting in the rain. But having said that, you know, like the 8mm does the same thing too. But this is why I'm using the 8 now, because the 8 is actually quite cool. First of all, it's 1.8. That means it's even faster than my 12mm prime, and being a fisheye, it sucks in more into the frame, you know, and so I can get more in of where I am, and also as long as you stick my head in the middle, what I'm doing right now, and my head shouldn't distort too much. But I would say that, you know, it's not going to be more like much more than the actual ultra wide when I'm using 7mm on this lens, because things do distort a little bit as well with this one. But one good thing is if I do swing into the slightly off center, this thing will stretch my face really badly, and while the fisheye doesn't do it too much because it's actually having these circular curvatures in the frame, so it kind of squashes squash it back my face a little bit so it doesn't look too unnatural if I'm slightly off center. So that's really good thing about the 1.8, and it's light. You know, this thing is so light and small, and I'm going to show you a comparison of these two lenses in a minute. You know, this thing is really small and light as well, which is actually perfect for holding with my M1 Mark II and all the other stuff attached to it with my mini tripod or mini vlogging pod. So I don't have to fully stretch my arm. I can still get most of myself in. This is good. And I think lastly as well, which I'm going to talk about the benefit of this thing can shoot really close. I mean really close, like this close. What about this? Oh, man, seriously, my eyeball is going to touch this. So what's the build quality is like for the 8mm Fisheye Pro lens? Well, it's labeled as Pro, so it builds like one. It's just no difference in terms of feel and handling compared to, you know, my normal workhorse lenses, the 25, the 17 and the 45 1.2. So it's really nice in the hand, fully metal, splash proof, and you know, it's weather sealed, so it's freeze proof. AF is excellently quick. Excellently quick? I don't know, quick. But anyway, it's really nice. I got nothing in terms of complaints, you know, about the build quality of this lens. The only thing I would talk about is that, you know, in terms of protection, unlike the 25 or the 45 or even the 17 has the hood that is kind of cover the front element quite well, so it will protect it from impact and also from accidental finger touching, which Tracy hates, you know, about finger marks in the front element. And also, you know, if you use it in the rain, it's very likely going to catch the raindrop in front of the lens, which means it will destroy your images. So that's not very good. And also, using filter is almost impossible unless you get one of those specialist kind of filter adapter that basically put on top of it to use it. But it's extremely expensive and also not very practical. So I guess that's probably the downside of the design. But apart from that, I love using it because you just see how small this is. You know, I don't think it's bulky at all compared to my 7-14, which is twice the size and twice the weight, you know, and I get similar result with these things. So here's the thing, fisheye lens, image quality. You know, a lot of people may not actually understand about fisheye lenses, but let me tell you, almost all fisheye lenses are ultra sharp. Because why? You know, because the depth of field is almost non-existent. Well, when I say that, it sounds a bit wrong, but what I mean is everything's usually in focus in any fisheye lenses. That means, you know, like when everything's in focus, like, you know, it's a perceived sharpness is way higher than any other lenses, and because of that, you know, like everything's going to be looking fantastically good and very detailed. But having said that, the 8mm does really good job in terms of resolving details. So when I take a shot like of the tree branches, you know, or anything like that, you can actually see all the details in there, and that means very good. And being a pro lens, they use the latest zero coating by Olympus, which is anti-reflective, which is very good there. Yeah, I think this is probably the only thing I could talk about image quality, and this is really good. Being a pro lens is always good anyway. But one thing I want to bring it to your attention is this is labeled as 8mm, but if you use a traditional 8mm for a Micro Four Third system, like the one that I have, the 7-14, with I set it to 8mm, you actually find that this 8mm is way wider than the 7-14's 8mm setting. So because of the 180-degree curvature, you know, the angle of view, that means that you actually absorb way more than the traditional 8mm. So it's a really interesting thing. And having said that, though, you know, I have to kind of bring it to your attention. There are different types of fisheye lenses out there. You know, like this fisheye is not the full circular fisheye lens, which means that if you look through the viewfinder or the end result of the image is not the one that you have kind of like a circle in the image where you have black corners. This one is just basically sucking everything into the entire frame. So you have the kind of bulging, more like a barrel distortion in a way, into the frame, kind of just pull everything into the frame. So it's not something you kind of imagine as a fisheye, because a lot of people misunderstood what fisheye actually is. So it has the same characteristics, but more like a cropped in within the actual circular of curvature. So there you go. I like the image quality, but just because it's so easy to use, I don't have to focus anything at any time. This is ridiculous. I can see absolutely everyone. This is our famous London Eye. And you know what, yeah, about London Eye is that it was designed and built to celebrate the millennium. And it was originally supposed to be temporary structure. And look, it's been here since 2000. 18 years. This is temporary. Right, I have to admit it, I do like this lens. Not a little bit. I actually do love this lens for many reasons actually. First of all, it's an ultra wide. Well, I know it's a fisheye lens, but it's an ultra wide as well, which I'm going to tell you just a little bit right at the end. But for vlogging videos, like I actually do this quite often these days, I needed something that's light that to mount on my camera, and also weather seal, fast in terms of aperture size. This is 1.8, and also ultra sharp. This is probably the only lens that kind of satisfies all that. I know I mentioned about earlier that I used the 12 f2 before, but it was just a little bit too narrow. I need something wider so I don't have to stretch on my arm like full length, like for a long period of time. That would tire myself out completely. This lens is almost the same weight as the 12, but it's at least half the weight of the 7-14 f2.8 Pro. Another good thing is obviously 1.8 against 2.8 is 2 stop quicker. So that means, you know, I can shoot in all kinds of lighting conditions without having to worry too much. On top of that, being a fisheye lens, which means that the depth of field is almost non-existent. Well, when I say that, which means that everything's in focus, so you don't have to worry about focusing too much. You can actually set it to manual focus and just plonk it there, you know, like you don't have to adjust anything. Everything will be in focus anyway. So this is absolutely crucial and critical when you're filming yourself. This is brilliant, you know, like, and I can hold this lens almost all day long. So filming, vlogging is perfect. And of course, this is a specialist lens. You know, you can for the fisheye, you can achieve all kinds of special effects to it. But if you are not into that kind of fisheye look and say, oh, I just like the more normal traditional thing, so this lens is not for me. No, you're wrong, because in any Olympus cameras, there is something called the fisheye compensation. Switch that on, it will magically turn your 8mm fisheye lens into an 8mm ultra wide, which means that the curved lines will become straight, everything's corrected in camera, and even when you're viewing it through the electronic viewfinder, you won't find a curve anymore. It's everything just like normal, just like having a very ultra fast, ultra wide angle lens is more better than actually the 7-14 2.8 Pro. I think so. You know, it's really good. It's that good. I think it's really good if you're doing a lot of light trail, night photography, even like really indoor shots a lot. You know, if you want to get into tight spaces, take a lot of those photos. This is brilliant for that because of the 8mm, 16 equivalent full frame at 1.8 light gathering capabilities. Switch on the compensation, you get a normal ultra wide. I cannot say anything more than that. And mind you, it's also pro lens, which means splash proof and weather seal. You can take it anywhere. I would have it in my travel bag any day. Definitely. Wholly recommended. If you haven't subscribed our channel, remember to click the subscribe button down here. I'm going to put all our social media links down there, so remember to follow us to keep up to date with our stuff. And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.